Okay, I'm honestly not going to go into too depth on this one. I don't really care all that much for the Stranger Things chapter. Stranger Things was, for those who don't know, a major Netflix show that aired for at least 4 seasons, focusing around a fictional town in the 1980s that is being plagued by a series of supernatural occurrences caused by entities from another dimension called the Upside Down, thanks to a government secret program opening a hole between our world and it. The success of this franchise can't be understated, as it captured the American people for the time that it aired, and look, I really don't care. It's one of those instances where the more people try to push me to see something, the more I'm not interested in it. Plus, the directors and actors in award ceremonies come off as kind of childish and even abrasive at times. I'm never going to forget in 2017 when David Harbour, the actor who played the character Chief Jim Hopper, said during an award ceremony, play the clip.
We will hunt monsters! And when we are at a loss amidst the hypocrisy and the casual violence of certain individuals and institutions, we will, as per Chief Jim Hopper, punch some people in the face when they seek to destroy the meek and the disenfranchised and the marginalized.
Yes, punching people in the face that we don't like, because that makes me respect you and your work all the more, sir. Okay, but I for one know how to separate the art from the artist, so I can't say this alone was what tore me away from the franchise. I think that the other thing that pulled me away was the fact that it was just everywhere, and I was growing sick of seeing it, and my friends who were totally into it just wouldn't shut up about it. I'm sorry, just if you want to push me away from something, start nagging me about needing to watch it. Have you seen Stranger Things yet? Nah, man, I'm doing it. Why haven't you watched it? Seriously, I don't even get on Netflix all that much. You don't get on Netflix? What are you, live in a hole? I mean...
It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort.
So naturally, when Dead by Daylight wanted to get the license to feature Stranger Things in their game, they got it, but briefly. They were able to squeeze 1 killer, 2 survivors, and 1 map out of the license before it was taken away again. Now only the killer and survivors remain, and you can't buy them now anymore. You can no longer get access to them. You can still, if you bought them previously, you still have them, but the map is no longer available, and you can't get any new cosmetics for the new characters. What you've got with the characters now is what you're going to get. And like I said, if you don't already have the 3 characters, you can't get them now. So, I'll be real honest, I don't see a lot of need to spend too long on this one. I'm just going to briefly glance over the 3 characters and what I think of them based on their lore and their abilities. So, let's get started. Let's start with Nancy Wheeler. I'm just going to read you her lore from the DVD website. Here we go. Studious and rebellious, Nancy Wheeler is a stubborn investigator with an instinct for a good story. When her closest friend Barb went missing, she did everything she could to unravel the truth and secure justice. A brilliant journalist, she chases stories and follows leads despite the inequality and chauvinism she encounters at the workplace. Pursuing a lead one evening, she fearlessly approaches the Hawkins National Laboratory before suddenly losing consciousness. A moment later, she awakens in a strange, misty realm with the sound of a familiar roar echoing through the air.
That was pointless.
Yeah, I guess her name shouldn't be Nancy Wheeler. I think it would be more appropriately Mary Sue with a lore like that. The first sentence that I read was all that needed to be said. She's studious. Okay, knowledgeable, hardworking, smart student. Okay, but she's also a rebel. It's odd. I don't know. Just looking at her on the wiki tells me that she was kind of a teacher's pet until her friend Barbara died, and only then did she start questioning things and acting out. But what really clinches this to me was the part about her battling inequality and chauvinism in the workplace. Now, I read up on her wiki page, and the first 2 seasons show her as kind of an interesting character until season 3, where it opens with her having a sexist boss. And that's something that's always kind of weirded me out. You work in a workplace for a sexist boss. I'm kind of like, it makes you wonder why a sexist, who thinks women aren't good for anything, would hire on a female intern. Now, here's the thing. If this sexist boss hired her on just because he thinks she's attractive, isn't she just out of high school? I don't think she's old enough for you to be finding her attractive yet, old man. And second, if you hired her but you think women can't do the work properly, why did you bring her on in the first place? But then again, it's 1985. I guess the writers assume that this is the era of sexism. I don't know. But what gets me is this. It doesn't amount to anything. In this lore snippet, it doesn't really explore why the sexism is a big deal to her. I mean, does it affect her? Does it push her? Does she want to prove herself or get back at her boss or anything? No, just gonna point at it and say, there folks, virtue signal of the day, and then move on. Sure, fine, whatever. I can't say anything really bad about this lore because it's the equivalent of eating a saltine cracker. I mean, you're fine with the taste, but it just leaves no impact and you feel the need to drink something afterwards just to wash it away. Now, Nancy Wheeler, like all survivors, has 3 unique perks, but it should be noted that after she was removed from the game as a purchasable character, her unique perks have been repurposed into general perks, which used to be known as Better Together, Fixated, and Inner Strength. Now they are known as Situational Awareness, Self-Aware, and Inner Healing. So, for the purposes of this video, we will be referring to them as their new names. Situational Awareness is an aura-based perk. While repairing a generator, its aura turns yellow so all other survivors can see it. If the killer downs a survivor while repairing a generator, all survivors' auras are revealed to you. It's a good information gathering perk and good for team builds, but not a lot else to say about it. Self-aware sounds a lot cooler than it actually is. You walk 20% faster and you can see your own scratch marks. And this sounds neat until you realize it doesn't matter if you can see your own scratch marks. The killer can too, and he'll still use them to hunt you down. Unless you're really, really smart about when and how you apply this new visual, it's not going to do much good for you. And then Inner Healing is the only kind of good one. When you cleanse a totem, this perk activates. If injured, you can hide in a locker for 8 seconds, and after the 8 seconds pass, you regain a health state. This is a neat way to get your health back swiftly and encourages you to totem hunt, which is something I enjoy doing anyway. So, in the end, I give Nancy a B-. I mean, she's fine, all things considered, but she's not really impressing me either, so yeah, do what you want with Nancy. Not my favorite. Next, let's talk about Steve Harrington. Like before, let's just read the lore verbatim. Here we go. Popular and arrogant, yet compassionate, Steve Harrington is an unlikely mentor and leader. He often acts as a surrogate big brother to a younger boy named Dustin. He even helped him find his slimy interdimensional pet Demogorgon to Artagon. His reputation as a protector grew, and he soon became a sort of babysitter for a group of kids in Hawkins with a knack for messing around with strange and dangerous things. His courage is unmatched, so that he was even able to fend off a Demogorgon when it threatened his friends. One evening, he received a call for assistance from his friend Nancy Wheeler. He drove all the way to the Hawkins National Laboratory to see if she was okay. He searched the area but only found her notebook. Before he realized what was happening, the ground opened up and a swirl of black mist filled his eyes. When he awakened, he was in a strange place that seemed familiar, but unfamiliar at the same time.
Forgive me if I withhold my enthusiasm.
Again, I don't know what I can do with this. It's generic and just... Okay, so after looking at the wiki, Steve, it seems, was a standard jock of some kind who acted like a jerk until he got his comeuppance. He bravely fought a Demogorgon to save Nancy in Season 1, but then in Season 2, it opens with him being let go by Nancy because he kept her from getting drunk at a party. Wow. And he ends up becoming a caretaker to a lot of younger kids in the town, I guess. I can't hate it because I don't see substance here with which to hate it, but at the same time, I don't like it because it's just nothing. Popular and arrogant but compassionate? Okay, I used the MLP clip there because that's exactly what this reminds me of. A character who on the one hand is compassionate and loyal to the people they care about and super dependable and kind, but on the other hand is arrogant and full of themselves with a propensity for dangerous behavior and thrill-seeking. I feel these two extremes would probably clash, and maybe if this was a well-written show, they would have these two things clash, but just for this, I don't care for it. Now, just like with Nancy Wheeler and later the Demogorgon, all of his original perks, he had 3, have been remade to be general perks, and their names were changed too. So Babysitter is now Guardian, Camaraderie is now Kinship, and Second Wind is now Renewal, so I will be referring to them by their new names. Guardian. When you rescue a survivor, they won't leave a trail of blood or scratch marks for a short time, while your aura is revealed to the killer. This is a perk that is the peak of altruism, literally exposing yourself to the killer to help another escape, which is fitting for an altruistic build, and it works well with some of his other perks. Kinship. Okay, normally I don't do this, but let me read the preamble that's on this thing in the beginning, okay? I'm going to put it on the screen. Look at this. All right. Life has taught you the importance of friendship, which has given you strength. You know, I was joking about the MLP thing, but okay. To quote a certain villain from My Little Pony.
Oh, gag. Fine, go ahead. Try and use your little elements, frenemies. Just make it quick. I'm missing some excellent chaos here.
Okay, and that's peak character writing right there, not gonna lie. Anyway, okay. So, when you're in the struggle phase on the hook, if another survivor is within 16 meters of you, the countdown to being sacrificed will pause for 34 seconds. And this is a good perk to have if you don't trust your ability to stay off the hook for long, buying you some time. So yeah, I don't have a problem with this one. And then last but not least is Renewal. It's a very good perk for an altruistic player. If you heal another survivor for the equivalent of 1 health state, Second Wind activates. The next time you escape a hook, you are placed in the broken state, which means you can't be healed for 20 seconds. After the 20 seconds have passed, you'll automatically heal back to full health, assuming you aren't down before then. Very useful perk, very good for tight situations. I've used it a couple times myself. I like this one. Unfortunately, Steve gets an F from me for friendship. It's sad when even My Little Pony can be more tolerable than some characters' lore from Dead by Daylight. Still better than Fairy Tail cringe, though. And lastly, let's talk about the Demogorgon. Again, we will read the lore verbatim. A blooming mouth full of needle-like teeth for a face, large, curved, razor-sharp claws, and powerful legs to pounce on victims make the Demogorgon a frightening monster to face in any dimension. It's a nightmare of unrestrained feral rage as it hunts down its prey and rips it to pieces, devouring every last morsel of flesh and gore, leaving nothing for scavengers. The creature is untouched by any sense of compassion or restraint. Looming over its victims, it shows no doubt or mercy, just the pure instinct of insatiable bloodlust as it delivers the death blow. A perfect hunter, the Demogorgon is a macabre testament to the horrors lurking in the Upside Down, and why it was choice pickings for the entity. And I seriously think this is the biggest problem I have with the Stranger Things chapter. They are expecting the player to know the show, and thus they give little to nothing of the lore here. I'll give the design this. It's certainly a creative construction, and I think it deserves recognition for that, but now I have questions. So the Demogorgon comes off as some kind of beast, right? A savage animal that feeds on victims, right? Okay. So how'd the entity teach this dog to sit up, roll over, and sacrifice survivors on a meat hook? Animalistic killers provide a problem as they're likely harder to train to do what the entity wants. The entity could go to characters like the Wraith or the Trapper or the Plague and convince them to serve it for some reason or other, but if it's just an animal, how do you get it to do that? Plus, this lore just seems repetitive. Like, that's my biggest problem here. This lore is so repetitive. Look, I'll show you. Let's walk through it together. Sentence 1. A blooming mouth full of needle-like teeth for a face, large curved razor-sharp claws, and powerful legs to pounce on victims make the Demogorgon a frightening monster to face in any dimension. That's just a general description of the beast. That's fine. But then sentence 2. It's a nightmare of unrestrained feral rage as it hunts down its prey and rips it to pieces, devouring every last morsel of flesh and gore, leaving nothing for the scavengers. This is an explanation of its nightmarish abilities and savage nature, so it's describing what it does. The creature is untouched by any sense of compassion or restraint. Okay, it's an explanation of lack of compassion. That ties into sentence 2. Okay. Looming over its victim, it shows no doubt or mercy, just the pure instinct of its insatiable bloodlust as it delivers the death blow. Okay, but this is just a repeat of sentence 3, right down to saying it feels no doubt or mercy. Yeah, I know that. You said that in sentence 3 when you said it lacked compassion. And then the last sentence, A perfect hunter, the Demogorgon is a macabre testament to the horrors lurking in the Upside Down and why it was a choice picking for the entity. Again, it's restating sentences 2 and 3, just how awful it is. You're not telling me anything. That's it. It's no explanation of how the entity found it, what it was doing when the entity found it, what it was trying to do, what exactly it wants, or anything. I mean, it's like the creators are just saying, just watch the damn show for yourselves. Don't ask us to put in the effort. I want them to try, dang it. I want you to at least make me invested in this killer. If all you're going to do is just say, it's a horrible monster, I'm like, oh, really? What does it want? It wants to eat you. Why does it want to do that? Is it just a wild animal? It feels no compassion. I got that part. What's its goal? Why did the entity want it? How did the entity train it? What was it doing when the entity found it? What was it trying to do? Was it hunting down the survivors in its own world? And why did the entity choose it to take to this new world? How did the entity teach it how to put things on meat hooks? And why does it want to put things on meat hooks? What did the entity promise this thing in return for service? What does it want? What is it attempting? Watch the show! No. See? Alright, so the Demogorgon power is of the Abyss. Holding down the special attack button will charge up the Shred attack, in which the Demogorgon will lunge forward and land a critical blow. This can destroy pallets and breakable walls, as well as damage survivors. The Demogorgon can also place a limited number of portals around the map. By standing on a portal and looking in the direction of another until it's highlighted, the Demogorgon can travel through one portal, traversing the alternate dimension, and then reappear at the one he was aiming at. Emerging from this portal grants the undetectable status effect temporarily. When a portal is active, survivors are capable of sealing them again. So all in all, the Xenomorph is better. Sorry, but I'm not as impressed by the Demogorgon now that Xenomorph is out, which I feel is way better since the Xenomorph's ability allows you to control where you end up much better, allow you to track survivors. I just feel like it's a lot better. I'm sure there are some people out there who like him fine, but I'm just not a fan. Never had any real luck with his power. I don't really care for it, and I got bullied more often than not when I played them, so Demogorgon's just not up to my taste in any case. As for his perks, they were known as Surge, Cruel Limits, and Mindbreaker, but since the Demogorgon is no longer available, the perks are now just general perks available to all killers called Jolt, Claustrophobia, and Fearmonger, so, like before, we'll be referring to them by their current names. Jolt is one of the most popular perks to have alongside Eruption. When you put a survivor in the dying state, all generators within 32 meters of you will instantly explode and begin regressing. Very strong perks to give away gen location that are being worked on and to impede progression on fixing them. Lots of people like to run Jolt. Claustrophobia, a great perk to trap survivors briefly. When a generator is completed, all windows and vault locations within 32 meters of that generator are blocked for 30 seconds, limiting their means of escape should you be nearby. Definitely a strong perk to use to help control and corral survivors. I do like this one.
Conversation, and this guy's called Colin, and he's the first person who's ever recognized
And finally, Fearmonger. It's a perk that hinders survivors' abilities while repairing. While repairing a generator, survivors are inflicted with the Exhaustion status effect. Exhaustion is a status effect that prevents the use of certain perks. This means that if you come up on a survivor who is fixing the generator, their usual perks to help evade may not be available. So, to put it bluntly, Demogorgon's fine, I guess. His power doesn't really impress me, but his perks are really good. His design is unique, but his lore is very missing, so I guess a C would be fitting for him. In any case, I guess it's pretty clear here that I'm not a fan of this chapter, and I'm sorry if this disappointed any of you guys. I'm sure there are lots of you out there who are either big fans of Stranger Things, or big fans of the Demogorgon, or just big fans of this chapter in Dead by Daylight, but for me, there wasn't enough about this chapter to really impress me. I started playing Dead by Daylight back when this chapter was still available. I remember playing matches on the map that came with Stranger Things. And I kind of wanted to look into Stranger Things at one point, but like I said, the amount of fan craze about it and all the publicity it was getting just really turned me off to it. I guess Demogorgon is kind of a unique design for a killer, but he never really fascinated me in terms of presence. He just looks like a wild, flower-faced monstrosity, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of neat, but I'd like a bit more than that. That's why I found more interest in characters like the Spirit, or the Trapper, or the Plague. These are characters with, depth to them, other than not just a character that's just a wild animal trying to kill. I would even say the Xenomorph is better written because there's a lot more depth and nuance to what the Xenomorph is and how it comes about. The Xenomorph is something that is, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. We'll save that for that video. But by and large, I would say that this chapter just didn't impress me, and that's why I didn't go all too deep into it. Normally what I try to do when I do these videos is I try to embellish a little bit. I read the lore that comes with it, and I try to make it sound epic, like it's a really cool horror trailer or something. That's what I try to do. But in this one, I just couldn't do it because all the lore snippets were so short and so bland, I couldn't even bother trying. So this is what you get, guys. I'm really sorry about that. I wish it were more than that. And if you guys are fans of the Stranger Things chapter, let me know why in the comments section. If you're not, let me know if you agree with what I had to say or not. But until next time, guys, and I think next time we're finally getting to a very long requested chapter with two characters that I'm very excited to talk about of a Japanese persuasion. One of them a motorcycle babe and the other a demon. Yes, sir, you guys know what's coming. And I will see you guys next time in the fog. Take care.